Welcome to the last weekend of September.
And it feels like the last weekend of September.
A little bit of a dreary day, but we're here to brighten you up.
There we go.
That's what we do.
Yep.
You
That's
know,
what we do.
information, witty lines, laughter.
Let's invite people to call in. Let's get it out there early. Call in today.
I'd like to introduce you to your new host.
521 talk. 521 talk. That is.
8255. I'm here 2 weeks in a row, so you know.
So,
But last week we didn't have any callers, and I think we should have callers this week.
People are mesmerized by you, Barb. They say, Frank is away, Barb is in. Let's just listen to her.
yeah, they're
Frank
like,
is away, Barb is in. Let's go out for lunch.
no, they're probably saying like, let's not interrupt Barb's brilliance. Let's why?
Yeah, let's not throw her off track. And
Yeah, let's not throw her off track.
Well,
So, anyways, let me we talked about this before coming on the air. I'm telling you that Ottawa is a wonderful place to live. I spent the last 3 days in New York City. I got in late last night. I love the culture. I love lots of things about New York City, but oh my God.
it's one of those. It's a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there.
So I got in Wednesday. We got there probably Wednesday at about noon. And I flew out Friday after the conference, and that was plenty of time. Like, the traffic, the people. We stayed probably in one of the nicest hotels in the entire New York. We stayed right at Times Square, the Marriott Marquis, right at Times Square. Like, I looked out my window and I saw all of Times Square.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. But the first day we decided to go for a walk. It was like dodging people. It was like people everywhere. You had to dodge them. I couldn't find who I was with, Angie and Jocelyn. Like, you know, and I can't even count how many times I saw someone urinating on a building or in a phone booth or like. And then going to the airport yesterday, it took us 2 hours to get about 20 miles. It was just a gong show. And I arrived home last night and I'm driving home and I'm like, wow, no traffic. This is nice. I get up this morning. I'm driving to downtown. There's, cheery people walking down the street. No one rushing. No one knocking people over. No negativity. And anyways, we're lucky to be in Ottawa. That's for sure.
Thanks.
I'm assuming that real estate agents in New York are very localized.
They'd have to be localized. I couldn't imagine saying, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll meet you at the property at 4. Like, do you leave at 3 or do you leave at 1 to get to the property? So I'm assuming they're very localized. I know in my coaching program, there's a lot of New York agents. Most of them specialize in something. So there's one guy who specializes in high-rise condominiums in one segment of downtown. And I'm sure there's lots of pockets of New York. I don't know New York well enough, but, we're walking to dinner one night. We're walking about 30 blocks. And in that 30 blocks, we're in areas where we're like, run. And then we're in the next area, it's like, wow, look how gorgeous this is. And then run. It's a real weird city. And I'll tell you, I couldn't live there.
Can you imagine trying to cover the same area that you cover here?
Oh.
As a company? It'd be impossible.
Yeah, like
you'd need 20 different locations.
You really would, and like my company is very different, even in Ottawa, than most companies. Like, most people are area specialists. So you have someone who can work only Orleans or only Canada, only Barrhaven. But I think mainly because of the radio show, because we go so wide. But I mean, there's times where we had more listings than the arm prior specialist. And we're based out of we have an Orleans office, we have a Canada office, so we do the entire city, but.
I think aside from the radio show, I think social media has changed that a lot for your business too.
Yes.
It's opened it up. So it used to be that this is my little area and I'm going to stay here and I'm the specialist. But there's no such thing as a specialist, right?
Well,
you do your research, you know the same thing somebody living in the area knows.
Well, here's the difference between us and an area specialist. So a lot of times we'll go into, let's say, a listing presentation in Canada. Okay, so I personally live in Orleans. But I have a number of agents that live in Stittsville and Canada, so they know Canada. I mean, Dora's one. Dora's going to be on the show next week. Dora lives in Stittsville. She knows the whole West End big time. So, but a lot of times you'll go on a listing presentation and they'll say, well, we're the area specialists. We only work Stittsville. Yeah. Well, the problem with that, if you only work Stittsville, which means you only have the budget to market in Stittsville. So if you're doing all your marketing in Stittsville, you better hope your buyer comes from Stittsville. Yeah. And what's the chance of you coming from...
You're reducing that pool.
Yes.
I think if I called and said, hey, I have a home to list in Canada, the specifically Stittsville people would not say no.
What do you mean?
Well, just mean if they market themselves just for Stittsville, but I happen to contact them and say, I've got a home in Canada to sell. Would they go to Canada?
Absolutely, they'll go to Canada. Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is sometimes people say, I only want to list with the area specialist. Well, the problem with only listing with an area specialist is they only advertise in your one area. Yeah. Well, listen, I've seen people who live in Stittsville that have come from Barrhaven, that have come from Orleans, that have come from downtown. So your buyer rarely comes from your specific area. And that's why we blanket the city with marketing, because we don't know where your buyer's coming from. So if we only want to market in one area, and if you only want to list with an area specialist, you're making a huge mistake. Huge.
All right, let's take a look at some of the promises from government. And
promises from government.
one is the Liberals promising was it $40,000 interest-free loan to fix up your house?
Yes, there's several different things going on in several different platforms. I think the one that's standing out, though, is that it's unfortunate Frank's not here because he's such a big piece.
We're going to get to that, but that's not what I'm asking right now.
Do I just get to talk? Okay, go back to the question.
Barb, you have just as much value as Frank does. Tell us.
But that's not what he was asking.
Let's cover the $40,000 for retrofitting your house.
Yes.
Would that slow the market down? Would that keep people in their homes a little bit longer?
Credits for renovations towards energy efficiency.
No.
Yeah, no, not really. Not really. I mean,
well, you know what? I wonder, though, with everything that's going on with climate right now, and this, whatever, maybe the millennials will start to look at, hey, how energy efficient is my home?
Well, would that make the millennials look at older homes knowing that they're going to get this opportunity to fix it up?
No, I don't think so at all.
No.
I mean, listen, we know what millennials are looking for.
Yeah,
Small
and
compact, no work. So do they look at older homes? Not usually. Like, they look at something that's going to have zero maintenance, zero work. They don't have to do anything. So I always love, though, when it's election time and all these promises come out. Why weren't these promises over the last 4 years?
Yeah, exactly.
It's election time, and I promised to do this. I promised to do this.
But now to what Barb wanted to talk about, the conservative promise.
The conservative
First
promise,
of all, 30-year amortization.
30-year amortization, renewals without the stress test, and
So what do we think about 30-year amortization? Obviously, great idea.
30-year amortization for first-time buyers, along with the first-time homebuyer incentive program. Amazing. When
we started the show, it was 40 years.
Yeah.
Yep, and 100% financing on Beacon scores over 680.
And it was the conservative government that brought it down to 35, then 30, and
then 25.
Now they want to go up to 30.
But I will say that Paul Taylor, who you guys have had on the show, and Frank, and the many people that work so hard towards getting these kinds of things in front of the right people to make some changes. I think it's fantastic that finally some changes for our industry are going to potentially be heard.
Do you think, though, changing the stress test on renewals is enough?
Well, you know what it does, though? It gives people the opportunity to shop their mortgage around again, which has been taken away because now you got to qualify 2 points above. You got to pass the stress test. So it puts it a little bit, the onus back in your pocket, that you can make your own decision on where you want to go and get a better deal, right?
Exactly. I think we'd all, for our industry, love to go back to 100% financing and 30, 35-year amortizations and all of that great stuff. But they've hauled us in, so the fact that we're, being heard to say we are impacting home buyers and we need some relief.
I think when you say we'd love to go back to 100% financing, I don't think we would. It's too much of a risk. Like that all changed when the states went through all that crap.
Yeah, and I guess when I say that, it's more like mortgage rules have consistently been making things more difficult for people to get into the market.
I think you'd like to go back to a little less paperwork days, which is only a few years ago.
It's all about setting expectations, Steve.
But I think if we I'm okay with that 5% down for first-time home buyers, but get rid of that stress test, make it less paperwork, make it a little easier for people to get into the market, because we've talked about this at length. First-time home buyers are what makes our market go, and if they can't get into the market, it really slows down our market.
Especially considering you can get that $300,000 mortgage, and principal, interest, and taxes is less than what you're going to pay in rent in Ottawa right now.
Oh, speaking,
let's get them into the market, right?
Speaking of rent, so 2 years ago when rents were were not coming up at all, I had one of my agents who approached me and said, I have someone who wants to rent one of your townhomes. They'll do it on a 2-year deal, but they'll do it for X. And it was about $100 less than what I could get on the open market at the time. I was like, all right. So if I have a good tenant, I never raise the rents, but this one was so under rented that I raised the rent because the market's gone crazy. So anyways, it was rented for $1,400. I could get $19 for it. When I was in New York City, I got a call from them saying they're leaving. It was like, oh no, oh no, please don't go. Please don't go. So bye-bye.
Because otherwise you're stuck at what, 2% or so?
Well, last year was 1.8. It's due to inflation. It's by inflation, right? So I was stuck with a $1,400 rent, and I was like, I know I can get 19 for it. So now they're leaving, so now I'm getting 19 for it. Love it.
And hopefully they're buying because, you know.
Oh, hopefully they are, yeah, but they're not.
I think if they were buying, Paul would know about it.
I would hope.
You better hope so. 521-TALK, 521-825. We're back. It's Did You Know time. Barb slaves over this all week, coming up with something that we really need to know and probably
Something
didn't.
Yeah.
engaging and that adds value.
Well, I wouldn't
Hold
go
on
that
once.
far.
Hold on.
No.
Bow
Did you
chicka
know?
wow wow. Bow chicka wow wow.
I so need to talk to the producer. About
Yes.
some intro music.
Yes. Go ahead, Barb.
Did you know that if you are getting an insured mortgage, so less than 20% down, and you're paying insurer fees,
CMHC fees, Genworth, right?
yep, Canada Guarantee, also known as insurer fees. And did you know that there is PST charged on those insurer fees that you pay at the lawyer? So the insurer fees get rolled into your mortgage, right? Whatever the insurance fees are, it gets rolled on top of your mortgage, and you amortize that out over your 25 years. But the PST, because it is a, air quotes, service, you're being charged PST on it.
HST or PST?
PST.
So only provincial tax?
Yep. HST is charged on the real estate fees, which is another thing that people don't often factor in when they're figuring out their net proceeds. But yeah, so for a first-time home buyer who's we estimate 1.5% in closing costs, legal and land transfer, which I find to be a little bit low if you're not a first-time buyer, because the first-time buyer gets the land transfer credit back, right? But then if they're an insured mortgage, they have the PST fees on top of it. So, yeah.
So thank you for clarifying that.
So I'm lost.
Genworth and CMHC is insured.
So I'm lost. Why would it only be PST? If it's a service, wouldn't it be HST? Wouldn't it be both?
It is only PST.
So it's what, 7%, 8%?
Yeah, 7.
Well, that doesn't seem right either. They should take that off. I don't like that at all.
Well, it's election time. They may.
I mean,
No, it's not on the list. I've got the list in front of me. It's not on the list.
Speaking of lists, let's go to the telephone and talk to Julie, who's been waiting patiently. Hello, Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, how are you?
We're great.
So, I've got this crazy question.
Okay.
My son is 16 and has just come into some money.
Okay.
He's decided that he wants to buy Boardwalk.
Boardwalk.
How old do you have to be to start buying or purchasing property?
18.
Yep.
Legal age. Yeah, legal age.
Good question. I've never had an 18 or a 16-year-old buy something, so that's a good. You've actually stumped me on that one. I'm assuming you probably have to be 18.
Well, in order to represent yourself in a legal document,
You have to be
you have
18.
to be legal age,
Yeah.
right?
But you know what? What's exciting is that he wants to buy real estate.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know,
Smart kid.
Some kids of that age would want to go out and buy Ferraris and Lamborghinis and blow the money, and he wants to buy real estate. That's amazing.
Is there a way it can be done that when he turns 18, it would go directly to him? Could she not co-sign and then...
I don't think that he would be able to be on the legal documents to sign. I mean, if he was 18 and she needed to co-sign from a affordability perspective, then yes, he's still on. Or he could be on at that point, but I think at less than 18,
You can't be on
sign
title?
legally.
That doesn't
I mean,
seem
it's
right.
a really good question, but it seems, you can't sign legally for anything until you're 18, right?
Would he need a mortgage, Julie? Or has he got enough money he would just buy something cash?
He would need maybe 15% on his mortgage.
Right.
So you're saying he'd put 85% cash down?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't do that. I'd put less cash down and buy multiple properties.
That's what he's saying to me.
What a
Good for
smart
him.
kid.
Good for
I'm
him.
going to call the show.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna call the show, and this is his goal, is to buy Boardwalk in Monopoly.
Does he listen to this show by any chance? We'd love to take some credit for this.
Yeah.
Probably listening now, because his mom is saying, I think you need to be 18, and he's saying, I don't think I do.
That's really smart. So his goal is to buy multiple properties with the cash he just got.
Yeah, and Mommy's going to live at one of the houses that he purchased.
Even better.
Even better.
Nice.
I hope he's renting it to you for money. Oh, that's amazing. You know what? Listen, next show we'll have the definite answer. I think it is 18, but
I'd like to see though if there's a way it can be done in writing that the second he turns 18.
I think it could probably be handled like in a will type scenario, like the
There's a chance he could be on title with his mom, and then she could come off title after time. Is
But that
potentially.
would cost money, right? You'd have to get the mortgage redone again.
No, you wouldn't have to get a mortgage redone. You'd just be able to, for a sell it to, she'd be able to come off title. That's something we'd have to find out. But
It's not something we come across every day. A
No,
16-year-old wanting to buy property.
That's impressive, though. That's really impressive. What's even more impressive, like I said, is that he doesn't want to just go out and blow it all on one home. He should be buying multiple properties, which is great. I don't know how much money we're talking, but with an average sale price in the 400 range now, I mean, if he can buy a few properties and realistically, don't put 85% down. I mean, put way less than that down.
let a couple of properties work for him.
Yeah.
Very entrepreneurial of him, though.
Thanks, Julie. Great question. We'll try to get you. Go ahead.
Try to get me through tomorrow, next Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm going to be looking forward to this conversation, please.
Yes,
Sounds
absolutely.
good.
We'll
Now-
do some research for you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
What an awesome. Now, the thing is, and you could answer this, if you're 18 years old, you wouldn't have much of a credit rating. How difficult would it be to get any kind of mortgage at 18 without a credit rating?
Well, he would need a co-signer anyway from an affordability ratio perspective, right? Because what's he working? Like 12 hours a week?
Well, he's probably hardly working. If he's only
Well,
16, he probably has a job. But
or even at 18. Like,
No, but I'm talking strictly to get approved for a mortgage at 18 years old. Have you gone through that? Have you approved people at 18 years old?
never that young. 21, 21, 22.
You
Sometimes
need some sort of a credit history.
So
do
if
you not?
if Julie's still listening to the show, my recommendation would be for him to get a credit card. And it doesn't have to be a big one. Just get a $1,000, $500 limit, something like that.
Get that credit
Just
going.
get that credit going, because by the time he turns 18, you're right. He could have $500,000, but if you have no credit, I ran into that situation when I was younger. When I signed my first NHL contract, I wanted to go to the States and buy a property down there. I had the money to put most of it down, but I had no credit, nothing. Like, I was playing hockey, so I didn't have a job. Sorry, it was before I started playing hockey. It was with my signing bonus that I wanted to buy this condo. I couldn't do it. I went down to the States, and no banks here would lend me money. No banks in the States would lend me money.
That's the other thing too, is you might be optimistic. I mean, it's a great idea to get him to spread his money out and buy investment properties, but at that young an age, he'd probably be only able to qualify for one mortgage with a big chunk of money down, I'm assuming he's
Exactly.
just not making a lot of money.
But not 85% down. That's blowing a lot of money on the
Yeah, no, but what choice do you have? When
Well,
you're,
a bank might say you got to put 35% down. So whatever the minimum
and
he
then
can
there's
put
always
down.
alternate lending, right? But I think an issue is the qualification piece. He
Yeah.
would definitely need a co-signer, and you need to be 18 to get a credit card.
Can't get a credit card before
You
18?
need to be 18 to sign for credit.
Well, God, in the States, they were giving dogs credit cards.
It's true.
Look
Look what happened there.
Yeah, look what happened there. I mean, people were signing their dogs up for mortgages and credit cards, and they were lending to them, which is crazy. But
You know what? Of all the problems you could have at 16, this is a good one.
good for him.
I'd want to have that problem at 16.
So remind me after the show. Dora's on the show next weekend with Frank, because I'm away. So we have to get that answer.
Yeah, for sure.
Welcome back to the show. This has got to be the strangest 8 months or so in the history of Ottawa real estate in regard to the amount of listings that are available. It's like somebody just pulled a light switch and just went, okay, we're gonna coast, and we're not gonna have too many this year.
Yeah, I've been in real estate since 2004. So what is that? 15 years. It is the strangest market I've been in. I've been in a similar to these a couple times. I've been in similar markets to this, but not this bad. But interestingly enough, before I get into the listings and that, when I was down in my my coaching program, can we turn that fan off? It's a little bit loud.
No, the fan is staying on.
You're hot, are you, Barb?
We're warming. I'm hot, absolutely.
Meanwhile, back to your seminar.
All right. So there's a lot of American markets that are in the same boat. Like, I've talked to a lot of Americans, and I found it was especially northern United States, like you're talking about the Bostons and those type of areas, the Connecticuts. I found that they were very listing challenged as well. But when I told them about our market, how our listings are down almost 30% this year, they're
That's
like,
huge.
whoa, that's a lot of listings down. I was like, absolutely. And I said, your sales must be down. I said, no, the sales are up, almost 4.3%. And I said the average sale price is almost up 8%. So we're just very listing challenged. So what I did is I took a look at, so in our board, you could go from anywhere from, Deep River and Renfrew and all that, all the way to, Plantagenet. Like, it's a huge thing. And so when I did that huge market, There's still under 4,000 listings on the market. There's 3,944. Of that, 3,465 are res and 479 are condos. So we're still under 500 condos, which is great news for condos. But when I broke down the detached and row unit for residential, there's only 174 row units. Now keep in mind, that's from Deep River
Wow.
all the way to Plantagenet and beyond. So that's a huge area, and there's only 174 row units.
That makes it so competitive, right? Because there's so many people who want to jump into that market.
Well, yeah, so that's our first-time home buyer market, right? So it's huge. But then what I did is I went a little bit less than that. I said, you know what? I don't sell in Renfrew. I don't sell in Deep River. I don't sell way up in those areas. So I said, why don't I look at just where we actually sell? So I went as far as west as Arnprior, and then out to Plantagenet and beyond, out east. And so when I broke that area down, there's really only 3,300 homes on the market.
That's
in that
everything.
area. That's everything. And on the 466 condos in that area. What you were saying in the break, Steve, like you'd like to see, me break it down from, let's say, Canada to Orleans, east to west, and see what that would look like. I will do that next time. It's just we still do. A lot of people do trade still in the outskirts, so I don't break it down Canada to Orleans, but I could break it down Canada to Orleans. I think you're probably looking at. I'd say probably 2,500 homes on the market.
I'd be curious because mainly, that's the central, right? That's where a lot of the business is going to happen.
But it's funny even when I'm talking about all these listings, because we've been, I think the most listings we've had is like 4,500. So we've been hovering between that 38 to 4,500 for almost all year.
Yeah, this year you're talking.
Yeah, this year we've been hovering in those. Like we haven't gone over 4,500 listings, and usually that's like a January, February for us usually. So
and the most listings I think we've had around 13,000, right?
No, I think that's a little high. I think
it?
we're probably 11.5, something like that, 12. We were up in that range, but that's a tough market.
That's more than double though. That's more than double where we're at right now.
Is it safe to say that pretty much everything now goes multiple in that sweet spot? I was talking to a client this week and they were bidding on a rural home, fairly inexpensive, like $200,000, and they were looking to win without a financing condition because it was going to go multiple. And I said, "Are you sure? It's pretty remote, and it's
It could be priced well." But
Did it go multiple?
She ended up walking away based on the pre-inspection before offers were being taken.
That question that Barb just asked is the mentality that everybody in the city has. Everything goes into multiple, and it's not. 50.
Well, the higher price points for sure, not so much, right? Like anything over 475, 500. They're going multiple?
Well, hold on. 50% of all sales are under asking price. 50%. There's only a third that are going into multiple offers. So when everyone thinks I could list to whoever I want. I can list with someone who's just going to throw a sign out there. It's going to go into multiple. No. Well, 33% are going into multiple. That's it. 33%.
People are wanting to list themselves, right? Because if you've got a townhome, this is the mentality. If you have a townhome, between 3.25 and 450, 475, the understanding and the impression is that is going, like, you're going to list it and you're going to get 20K over asking, and there's going to be 6 or 7 offers. That's what I'm hearing.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely wrong. It depends on who you're listed with. Okay, because you still need that exposure. You still need people to know this home is for sale, and you need a large clientele to come through the door to buy that property. So there's a big difference. If you show well, you're priced well, you're represented with a reputable realtor, there's a very good chance if it's priced properly, you will get over asking. But the question that a lot of consumers are thinking, it's not a question that they're thinking anyone could do it. There's a very big difference in listing at 400 and accepting 440 or accepting 405. There's a big difference. So what we do really well is we get you that huge difference. So could you list with another agent and get, over asking? Very good chance. But how much over asking? How much are you actually leaving on the table by not listing with the right people? I'm not saying it has to be us. I'm saying it could be a very good, reputable realtor.
Oh, and the reality is you could sell privately. Everybody can. Eventually it's going to sell. But at what cost?
Yeah, and at what cost to you?
Yeah.
And then that brings me to the buyer side of it. I also spoke with someone this week that said, we don't have an agent. And I said, in this market, if you're purchasing in a competitive price range, there's no cost to use a buyer agent. You need someone going in there looking after you because you're going up against 3 or 4 other bids with real estate agents.
Well, not only that, let's say you're looking on your own, Barb, and you're looking in the $400,000 range, which is like a townhome, and Steve's working with us, and he's looking at homes in the same price range. there's a very good possibility because he gets connected to the search that we have. He gets to see that property before you get to see it by potentially 24 to 48 hours before you get to see it on realtor.ca. He gets to see it on a realtor system. We hook him up to the realtor system. So there's a very good chance that Steve's already bought that property before you even know it's available.
Interesting.
And that's what people don't understand. They're like, I don't need an agent to help me buy. Well, in this market, if you're not working with a realtor, you're not buying a home. You're just not.
Especially in this market.
Especially in this market.
So hard for first-time home buyers, and it's so hard when you need insurance, right? If you have less than 20% down.
But if you're looking on your own right now, the pool of the homes that you have access to is so much smaller. You're basically settling, as opposed to making a choice of, look, this just came out. Now I can add this to what I want to.
Well, we're talking about home.
Welcome back to the show, Barb. What is going on with rates now?
What is going on with rates now?
I asked you first.
That's what Steve just asked.
Rates are slightly up. I think we've pretty much seen the non-bank lenders move first, mostly 10, 15 basis points. Bond market's been up over the last couple of weeks, so the increases weren't too surprising. But remember, like, it was 2.74, 2.79, 2.89. Like, rates are still really, really good. We've seen some spikes over the summer to the bond market, and the rates didn't move. So
Actually came down.
yeah. So
So what do you see for the future?
what do we see for the future? Well, we think there's one more prime rate increase potentially before the end of the year.
Increase?
They've been talking about decrease for like last year, and now they're increasing.
We think there's potentially one more. Yeah.
Wow, like that. Look, Frank's been saying all year that, although we never thought we never saw fixed rates going up either, right?
No,
like they
there was
just
some
did.
But in the
movement.
last 3 months or so, it looked like they were either going to stay the same or come down. That's changed now?
Apparently,
Wow.
we're looking at potentially one more. I mean, we just saw fixed rates move, and that's the first time over the summer, right? We've had a really good rate environment over the summer. Excuse me.
Oh God,
over the
I
summer.
hope prime
So,
does not change.
Yeah.
That affects you commercially, right?
Oh, huge. I used my commercial mortgages on my two buildings. I used to be at 3.95, but with all these increases that have happened over the last 18 months, I'm now at 5.3.
Ooh, that's a big difference.
It's a big well.
That is a big difference.
I mean, especially on they're $1 million mortgages. So
Yeah,
you can imagine
yeah.
just if I had a $200,000 mortgage, it'd be a different story. But when you have $1 million plus mortgage, that hurts. It
Yeah.
hurts. Like what is that, 1.5 almost?
Almost a point and a half.
Yeah. Jeez, that hurts.
Considering like prime is 3.95, right? So you used to be that.
Yeah.
And variable is still out of the question, right? There's no point.
Yeah, variable's still not touching fixed. We're not. I mean, variable. If you're thinking you don't know what you're going to do 2, 3, 4 years down the road, sure, you want to be in control of your penalty. But with the non-bank lenders, you're more or less in control of your penalty anyway. So and we're
Yeah, because the variable right now is actually higher than a 5-year,
It is,
right?
absolutely. And it's like prime minus 40, 3.35 versus 2.89, 2.79, depending if you're insured or not.
Yeah, I just looked at my two mortgages that I have on a couple of my investment properties, and I was always variable, but I was at 3.3, and I can get 2.74 now on a 5-year fixed, and they're my
Oh yeah, you said that last week. You were
Yeah.
going to move them over.
I haven't yet, but I mean it's a no-brainer, right? Like why would I not?
Well, exactly.
Because they're my investment properties, so
So
I'm
you're
not
not getting rid of them.
I'm not getting rid of them.
Exactly.
My house and my cottage, different story. So I'll keep those variable.
Yeah, fixed rates are still the way to go.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I'm shocked at prime. Like I never thought prime was going up because we've been talking about it going down all year.
And prime is on, the variable is prime minus 40, you said?
I mean, it depends. The high ratio stuff is still prime minus 1, but the conventional stuff, prime minus 30, prime minus 40, 50, depends on the lender.
And why
depends
is
where you
that?
fit.
Why is there no appetite for a higher variable deduction? Do banks just don't want it?
I guess they don't want
they want
the
the
variable
they want-
business, like,
yeah.
and fixed rates are just so low,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
And what are we looking at for 10 now?
10 years?
Is that attractive or not?
I think still the whole 10-year thing is it's got to fit really closely with the 5-year, like not too much of a spread, because why pay 3.3 3.49 when you can pay 2.89 for the first 5 years, and then you're renewing, and yes, you're renewing at potentially a higher rate, but you're renewing at a lower balance.
Yeah,
Right?
You know,
So-
it won't be into the 4s by the time you renew in 5 years. You don't think?
Ideally not,
Yeah.
but there was a time where the 10-year was really close to the 5-year. The spread just wasn't big, so why not? And you're out for 3 months interest after 5 years anyway. So if rates are down at the 5-year point, you can just rejig to the, you can just break your term and get the 5-year.
But then, like you said, you've been paying extra for the first 5 years. Do you get that money? Like, does it pay you back?
Well, and that's the risk, right?
Yeah.
That's
So
the
it's
risk.
3.49ish. You said for 10 now.
I think it's more than that though, because I think
Yeah, maybe 3.69,
yeah,
3.79.
yeah.
Well, probably 3.7989 actually.
So
Because
you-
it was when rates were good, probably about a year and a half ago. I remember Frank quoting 3.69 on the 10,
Yeah.
and at the time it kind of made sense because I think the fixed rates were at like 3.29 or something like that. So
Well, that's it. It's what's the
Yeah.
difference. But we're not doing. I can't tell you the last time I quoted a 10-year rate. The 5-year rates are just so fantastic.
yeah, it would probably be at least a point higher than the 5-year rate.
Such a funny little market. You know, when there's announcements that rates are going up, but rates are still so low.
Yeah.
They're still so low.
I guess the other side of that too is if you got a 10-year rate of 3.69, you got to qualify 2 points above that, right?
You do. Yep, because it's the higher.
Wow.
Of,
Which is insane because it's already a point above.
Yeah.
a point above your 5-year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not seeing a lot of 10-year business.
Just
Right.
before we get to Barb's birthday, there was a caller that called in that didn't want to go on the air, saying that she's trying to sell her condo and the agent wants to charge her 6%. Obviously, there's no commission is negotiable. I can tell you, in this market, a 6% is a very, very aggressively high commission. Just so you know.
So if you were listing, you wouldn't pay 6.
I mean, listen, I'm in a real estate agent. I'd love someone to pay 6, but
Yeah.
realistically, that's very high in today's market.
Yeah, I don't see anything like that when I'm calculating.
No, so I think you may call our office and we can probably do better than that for you.
Again, interview a bunch of people.
Interview some agents, yeah.
Birthdays. So Luca's birthday was yesterday. One of our brokers, Luca Guercio, Friday the 27th. Murray Grown on Sunday. Happy birthday,
Happy
Murray.
birthday, Murray.
And Ashley Maiorino on Monday. Happy birthday,
Happy
Ashley.
birthday. Paul at paulrushforth.com. I have Jason sitting by the phones at the office right now, 788-2122.